Hey everyone, I'm Shelby Hartman, DoubleBlind's co-founder and editor-in-chief, and today we're talking about mushroom spores and liquid culture. But before we get into it, in case you didn't know, DoubleBlind has an amazing newsletter. No, I genuinely think it's amazing. We put it out twice a week. It's called The Drop-In, and we feature journalism from inside of the magazine, tips and tricks on how to embark on a journey with psychedelics, if that's something that you feel called to do. And part of why we have launched this newsletter is because we've been up against all kinds of censorship on YouTube, Instagram, Google, and beyond, and we just want to make sure that we can always stay connected with our community. So if you feel called, you can join at the link below. If you have any interest in growing mushrooms at home, which I'm guessing you do because you're watching this video, the first step is obtaining mushroom genetics, which can be sold in a few different forms, such as spore prints, agar plates, or syringes. Syringes are the easiest to work with and inoculate growing mediums with. Let's get a little more into it. There are two options for mushroom syringes on the market right now: spores and liquid culture. Over the last couple of years, companies have begun producing mushroom genetics for psilocybin mushrooms commercially. We just want to provide a massive disclaimer here. If you obtain genetics of a psilocybin strain, it is legal until you use those genetics to cultivate mushrooms. When you get a spore syringe, you'll see little dots of black and gray floating in water. Those are the spores. Spores are very common for mycologists to use to cultivate particular types of mushrooms, but they're not always ideal for standard growing. They can take a longer time to develop, and the results aren't always predictable. Liquid culture is a bit different. Liquid culture is actually a clone of a mushroom. It was developed by taking a tissue sample from a mushroom, usually one that was notably fast-growing or particularly large. Liquid culture is early stage mycelium. Think of it like an embryo. It's ready to grow as soon as it meets a substrate. Liquid culture in a syringe will look like distinct, floating, light-colored clouds suspended in a liquid that is usually not perfectly clear. It's not water. Usually the liquid is a nutrient solution to help the mycelium grow. Most gourmet mushroom genetics are sold as liquid culture, not spores. For many years, until about 2022, most psilocybin genetics were sold as spores, not liquid culture, which is why people are more familiar with them. Nowadays, it's easy to find both spores and liquid culture for edible and psilocybin genetics. Generally, casual growers should consider growing from liquid culture rather than spores. Liquid culture takes to a growing medium faster and has a much higher success rate for growth. Mycologists should still work with spores for genetic development, but for the simple purpose of growing, liquid culture is just the better product. As a quick note, liquid culture can live at room temperature, but for long-term storage is best kept refrigerated. Don't ever freeze spores or liquid culture. Please just don't do it. Once you have your spores or liquid culture in hand and your intention is to cultivate mushrooms, there are a few methodologies you can use. We're not going to go into too much detail because we have other videos on our YouTube that are dedicated to these topics, and you can check them out by clicking on the playlist here. But typically you would choose to either inoculate a grow bag or a grain jar. Grow bags are a simple, flexible way to cultivate mushrooms at home. They're filled with a substrate, basically like the soil for your mushrooms, and inoculated with spores or liquid culture. As the spawn colonizes the substrate, mushrooms eventually fruit inside the bag. You can purchase pre-made sterilized grow bags or make your own by adding spawn to sterilized substrate. These bags create a controlled environment with the right humidity and airflow, and their transparent design allows easy monitoring of the mushroom growth process. Ideal for small spaces, grow bags are space efficient, beginner friendly, and easy to manage. For larger yields, multiple bags are required. The other option is monotubs. They offer a hands-on scalable method for growing mushrooms at home using modified plastic storage bins to regulate airflow, humidity, and temperature. They're ideal for cultivating large quantities of mushrooms in one container. Monotubs hold more substrate than grow bags, yielding higher quantities. With holes for airflow and covered with filters or polyfill, the humid microclimate inside promotes fruiting while the lid and air holes maintain optimal conditions. Monotubs are versatile, reusable, and perfect for bulk growing, though they require more space, preparation, and careful monitoring to prevent contamination. If you want to grow in bulk, a spore syringe multiplier kit might be for you. It's possible to turn one spore or culture syringe into 30 syringes. Yes, you heard me right. Our friends at Spore have developed this liquid culture expander kit, which allows you to easily turn a single 10 milliliter culture or spore syringe into 300 milliliters of liquid culture without the use of expensive equipment. In just 7 to 14 days, the expander broth will contain vibrant liquid culture, which can be refrigerated for up to 4 months. Use liquid culture to inoculate a variety of sterile substrates, including the aforementioned grow bags, grain jars, etc. The liquid culture expander is best used within 1 month of receiving it and should be stored in a dry place at approximately 50 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Once fully colonized, the culture jar can be stored in refrigeration for up to 4 months. Let's get into a little more detail about how to use the multiplier kit. First, you'll want to set up a clean, still environment to minimize contamination risks. If you have access to a still air box or flow hood, that's great. If not, just make sure your space is clean and free from drafts. Close windows, turn off fans, and clean your work surface thoroughly with isopropyl alcohol. Once everything is clean, put on gloves and wipe down the injection port and filter patch with an alcohol pad. If the liquid culture or spore syringe looks a little separated, give it a gentle shake to mix it up. Then inject 2 to 5 cc's of the culture or spores into your jar. The syringe needle comes sterile, but if you're reusing it, you'll need to re-sterilize by wiping it with alcohol or flame sterilizing it, but don't use an open flame in a still air box. After injecting the spores, give the jar a good shake for 20 to 30 seconds to distribute everything. Then you prepare a warm, dark spot for incubation. Ideally, you want the temperature to stay between 77 and 82 degrees Fahrenheit, but anything above 60 degrees Fahrenheit will work, it's just a little bit slower. A small heater can help if needed, but avoid heating mats as they don't provide even warmth. After 3 days, give the jar another shake to redistribute everything. A week or so later, you should start seeing white mycelium forming. Keep shaking the jar daily to prevent clumps and help the mycelium use all the nutrients in the jar. Let your jar colonize for about 2 weeks after you first see growth. Then you can store it in the fridge for future use. If the jar is colonizing slower due to cooler temperatures, just give it a bit more time before refrigerating. Just a side note here, if you're choosing to do this with pink oyster mushrooms, which are gorgeous, or almond agaricus, those should not be refrigerated. After about a week, you will begin to see clouds of white mycelium forming in your jar. Whether you're new to mushroom cultivation or a seasoned grower, understanding the differences between spores and liquid culture is important. Liquid culture tends to be faster, more reliable, and easier to work with for casual growers, while spores are ideal for mycologists looking to explore genetic diversity. With the proper environment and tools like grow bags or monotubs, you can successfully grow a variety of mushrooms at home. If you enjoy videos like this one, I just want to remind you to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video from us. Until next time!